Welcome, everybody. We've reached the end of the week in the middle of the month. I am Tom Connors. With me is the boss man, Andre.
Greetings, everyone. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. It's Midnight's Edge in the morning. So, of course, we're here with an awesome panel, as always.
Yes, indeed. We have a couple Canadians with us this morning. We got Script Doctor with us. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a very warm day today.
It is. It's 71 here so far. We also have Mr. Paul Chato. How you doing?
It's good. I'm surviving because I've got Dr. Ho's back zapper on. So
Dr. Ho.
hopefully I make it through the show, but I'm going to put my avatar on so you don't see me grimacing.
There you go. Well,
I was about to say, for those that haven't seen his video dropped earlier today, Mr. Chato is in something of back pain right now.
A little bit. Yeah, your video was great, Andre.
Did we get ours out?
Thank you.
Yes. I love watching your videos in the morning.
Oh, wait till we get to the follow-up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, what we're talking about is the Star Wars video that we dropped earlier today. But we'll get back into that afterwards. Just go and like it right away if you haven't, and see the whole thing after the show.
Indeed. But we have some people in the chat. Let's say hello to them right away. We got Hyperguyver here who sends in $10 and says, "It was clever of Metalis to use the board to..." Should we... Is this a spoiler one?
Thanks for the spoiler.
Yeah. I ain't seen since episode 3, so yeah.
You're out of luck, Andre.
I'm just going to say thanks for the support, Hyperguyver. We'll discuss that in more detail.
To alter a benign bit of tech, to alter an entire generation into subservient commie drones. Talk about hitting the nail on the head. Well, I've heard this final episode of Picard was kind of controversial. Some people enjoyed it. Some people were super pissed.
I have to say, based on what I haven't seen the episode, but it sounds pretty based, you ask me.
What were they pissed about?
I don't know. Matt Cadis just went off about it on Twitter yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I was disappointed with the Borg reveal myself, but I liked everything else that was going on around it. I liked the function. I liked the roles that were being played with the characters, and I liked the urgency, and I liked how the mechanics of it all kind of lined up. I thought it was well done. I just wish,
so now it's not just
for the love of God, would they stop using Borg so damn often in Star Trek?
And it's the same kind of plot, ain't it? It's First Contact. I don't know, maybe not.
It's every Borg plot trying to assimilate.
Yeah, just assimilate. Yeah.
I do like how they managed to take these massive starships, get in them, and start them up like a Impala, Chev Impala.
Yeah.
Did Picard?
Again, let's get out of the garage. Lift the garage, okay?
Well, they did that in Search for Spock. Scotty re-rigged the Enterprise so that they could fly it.
But gentlemen, let's not spoil anymore because
I'm talking about Search for Spock.
I just wanted to ask: does he kill him willy nilly like he does in First Contact, even though he was saved from the Borg? That was the one thing I was always wondering about. Just kill him. Because I love
overall, I thought it was a good episode, and I'm loath to say anything more, just in case I spoil it for Andre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because not only have the audience not seen it yet, I haven't seen it yet because I've been busy on.
There's one episode left, right?
Yes, one left.
You know what? Now that I've seen all this, they've really compressed an awful lot of plot. This thing could have stretched out way longer.
Really?
Oh, that's what happens when you only get one season.
I think so.
I was just curious because, that was one thing that bothered a lot of people in First Contact is that he's like, if somebody's changing, just kill him. You're doing him a favor. And it's like, wait a minute, weren't you brought back from the Borg and a bunch of other people? Like,
but now, listen, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah. I'll just say that there's something right about what he said.
Okay. Okie dokie then. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to waste my time with this crap. They got season and a half out of me or whatever already. So Callum Lyle says I would have cast Will Arnett to be Donkey Kong for Mario. Yeah, that'd have been better. Instead of, hey, I'm Donkey Kong, smoke weed.
That was beautiful.
He didn't even try, right? Like, it was like, you could have just had Jack Black do both Bowser and Donkey Kong.
Whoa. Are you expecting someone who gets stoned all the time to try?
Hey, I get stoned all the time, and I try.
So
I get called Scotty because I can get stuff done, and I know how to tell Andre I can have it in this amount of time and get it sooner. So he goes, "Oh wow, that's amazing." I get stuff done. I'm busy all the time. I don't have time to slow down. Dr. Longdongler sends a thumbs up. Thank you so much for that. And if you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, please do. We also have Waltman here. Yes, you sent me this article last night. And this is what we're going to talk about today, Waltman. So you are the man of the hour here. Well, Six went through it, and we're going to talk about it. Bob Iger had a few things to say about Perlmutter, so we're going to talk about all that. It was from Time magazine, actually. And his comments on saving $5.5 billion and having creative figures out advertising got my interest. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Dark Winter says, is there any chance Amazon Stargate will be any good? I don't know. I'm not surprised by this announcement.
We'll talk about that later.
So I was curious how long it was going to wait for them to milk what little they did get out of the Amazon deal. Because they're running out of time on some of these things, too. Because isn't Robocop up for, wasn't the creator's family going after Robocop, too? Remember, right? We were reporting one day, so they may have worked that out, so we'll have to get into that. Mr. Tickle Trunk says, I don't think they can ruin Stargate franchise. It's already a bad Stargate show, or more bad than good. The good ones are still unspoiled. SG-1, Atlantis are great shows. Be concerned, but don't panic. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a huge Stargate fan. What about you guys?
I've liked parts of it here and there. I thought Universe was a big mistake because it was essentially just Star Trek Voyager. Yeah.
The TV show was far better than the movie.
I never got into the show because I didn't have Showtime.
Yeah.
Because the first few episodes of Stargate on Showtime had nudity. Yeah.
Well, they were on Showtime, and then they put them in syndication after the fact.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a bad little bit of Xeno Warrior science fiction series.
Oh, definitely in the Xeno Warrior style. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cheap, cool characters. That's one of the things I would give Metallis's Picard right now is that every single character has a role, and they all have a quote unquote a superpower, and they're doing a very good job of having each of the characters apply their skill to different situations.
Yes.
Which Discovery, everyone is the same. Like they all have similar abilities.
Well, they're swapped into whatever position they need to be in.
Correct. Which makes it tedious. It was actually, to tell you the truth, seeing Troy in there was you go, wow, that's a useful skill to bring on board a starship. What she brings to the table.
It's the first time she's been useful in the entire Star Trek series, actually.
Kind of at the beginning of TNG, she would sit next to the captain and tell him stuff, and then they got rid of her.
Well, she would sit next to the captain and espouse the obvious.
I know. Obvious to you, but you're a genius. Wasn't obvious.
Also, speaking of obvious, let's move on with a couple of these super chats before we get into the proper topic.
We're just trying to expand what looks to be a really dull episode of your show.
It probably is. Tipping Barnes says, especially considering last night's WDW show was like watching your parents get divorced. I feel bad for all parties involved. Yeah, I didn't say nothing about it last night, and I'm not going to say anything here.
Yeah, no, we're not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. We remain friends with all parties involved, and that's all we have to say about that.
Yeah, Mr. Think says, can Disney be an entertainment company again? Yeah, right? I mean,
with the right leadership.
This is a good question, Mr. Chato.
I'm always optimistic with the right leadership, but trying to find it. And in the most recent video that I produced, one of their biggest problems is actually they've lost sight of what their brand is. No one can tell what it is anymore. And whenever I have run a company, I always concentrated on what the brand promise was of the business that I created and made sure that everyone understood what that brand promise was, because you can't really run a business without everybody on board and to use that cliche, rowing in the same direction. And right now, I mean, they've got some giant warship with oars broken and sticking in the water all different directions. It's just a mess. And that is the one thing I would want to hear from Iger is what's the grand vision for the company. And I don't even know whether they can do it holding on to Marvel, Disney, Pixar anymore. It's killed them.
Mm. Well, we're going to get into that in just a few minutes here. But we'll have to see how it goes as well. Stian Monstad sends us a super sticker. Thank you so much. It is a thumbs up. If you haven't hit the thumbs up yet, please do. There's over 800 of you watching. Also, share out the link. Zontar says, not Stargate without the Pentagon seal of approval. Now I'm going to enjoy the Long Beach Grand Prix. Go Dixon. Would that be Dixon Cider, or is that just Dixon?
Well, I guess it's someone in that Grand Prix.
Yeah. G-Dog also sends a thumbs up, reminding you if you haven't done it yet, now's a good time. Gonzalo Agali says Picard Season 3 makes Season 2 no longer canon. I was hearing something about that, but that's where there's...
The ending of Season 2 makes Season 2 no longer canon. No, seriously, it all takes place in an alternate timeline. It doesn't matter.
It's still a complete waste that the ending of Season 2 didn't make Season 1 canon, because that's what we really needed.
Uncanon it, you mean?
Yeah. Terry Matalas incredibly was able to work not around it, but with it, and I didn't see that coming. But hey, kudos to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Rod Thunderheart sends in 55 Canadian buckaroos and says, "Hail, Midnight's Edge in the morning. Few bucks to promote See Through Love at Friesen Press, Carolina. Dominguez is a Spanish teacher who becomes invisible when angry, but when aroused, it happens like it or not. She's shocked when caught spying on a new gym teacher who's blind. Sorry, I went way different direction. Can see her when she's invisible. Yes, check out Rod's book. I think the mod should have the link handy. If not, thank you for the 55, Rod, and hopefully you're having a great day.
Yeah, and of course, D. Bud Martin, he has the link right here. So do check that out, and thanks for the support, Rod.
Absolutely. And then we got Eduardo Aguaro, who says Atlantis was awesome. Strong and real female lead roles with Amanda Tapping, Sonia Black, Tori Higginson, and to Rachel Luttrell. All great roles. Yeah. It sounds like they had some women's there. And then 200 Watt Studio says SG-1 is the only Stargate. No remakes. I've only seen the movie. Really. I've seen maybe
I have also only seen the movie. I know of the series. Never really watched them.
Series was fun.
Yeah. No, so I understand.
Well, it sounds like that's what folks want to talk about. So should we start with the Amazon story?
Yeah, let's dive straight into the Amazon story.
You got some copy for me or what?
Yeah, I sent you a link earlier.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, SG-1 always reminded me of Time Tunnel. But then I'm going way back.
I remember Time Tunnel.
I loved Time Tunnel. Tony and Doug go back in time.
Yeah, I remember like the intro and stuff, but sadly that is all because it was on TV. We got it on satellite from the UK, but this was before I knew English, so I didn't really get the story.
And Lee Merriweather was a scientist in it.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, Irwin Allen.
Irwin Allen. Voyage to see what's on my bottom.
Let's time tunnel to the story at hand.
Oh,
because
we might actually manage to do it before 15 minutes here. Yeah.
Yeah, because
we just missed it.
Deadline Hollywood. Well, thank you, Tom. Robocop, Stargate, Legally Blonde, and Barbershop, among titles in works for film and TV, as Amazon looks to supercharge MGM IP. So yeah, it's in the title. But Tom, would you like to develop that a little bit further?
Sure. No real surprise here, but MGM's extensive film and TV catalog, built over the past century, what, you mean most of it that Turner has, was the main driver behind Amazon's $8.5 billion acquisition of the storied Hollywood studio that made no sense to anybody but Amazon. For the past year, since the deal was closed in March of 2022, Amazon Studios has been sifting through MGM's library, identifying about a dozen initial titles for film or TV development, including Robocop, one of my all-time favorites, Stargate, Legally Blonde, Fame, Barbershop, The Magnificent Seven, also a great one, Pink Panther, and The Thomas Crown Affair, which has already been remade. We hear a list creative auspicious have we hear A-list creative auspices, I know I can't talk today, have reached out to inquire about adapting MGM IP, which they are fans of. Additionally, Amazon Studios also has been leaning on its own roster of talent for some projects, each title being approached differently. Some are being steered towards film, some toward TV, and some big ones are both TV and movies. For instance, Amazon Studios is in active early conversations on Legally Blonde, both for movie and a potential TV series, sources say. Yeah, I remember hearing about that a little while back. There already had been on and off efforts to get a third Legally Blonde film off the ground for the past 5 years, exactly. Just like with Stargate, they also have similar plans. Both film and TV are considered. Robocop is being talked about for both film and TV, possibly a TV show possibly first. Additionally, Amazon Studios is actively developing TV series based on Fame, Barbershop, and Magnificent Seven, sources said. Magnificent Seven has already had a TV series as well. There are also discussions about a Thomas Crown Affair movie as well as a Pink Panther movie, which could be animated, sources said. So I wonder if that's going to be more in line with just the Pink Panther himself and not a remake of the film. I know Andre will have a thing or two to say about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Poltergeist project is also possibly down the road, we hear. I bet you they have to have Spielberg sign off on that, though. Deadline already revealed plans for Creed universe spanning film and TV. Who wants that? Which Amazon Studios has been discussing with franchise star and filmmaker Michael B. Jordan. The studio also just made a first look deal with Sylvester Stallone and his Balboa Productions for film and TV projects. We hear expanding the Rocky brand into television may be part of it. But he doesn't have anything to do with the Rocky franchise. Did they forget about that? And him and the producers are not seeing eye to eye right now. But then again, this may be a way around that. There are currently no plans for James Bond, series beyond the unscripted competition series announced shortly after Amazon's acquisition of MGM closed, as the franchise producers are focused on figuring out the next film installment. Identifying and developing MGM IP has been slow so far. Yeah, you're telling me. Some of that has been by design. The new owners want to be thoughtful about the process given great legacy of the titles involved. Some of it has been by necessity given the complexity of some of the underlying rights. Rocky is just one example that have been taking months to untangle. Robocop probably was another. Nearly 100-year-old studio has had multiple owners. That's an understatement. As well as financing partners for many of its best known movies. This is also a studio, which means basically they don't own all their shit. Just so you know, this is also a studio that reportedly kept much of its archived hundreds of feet underground in an actual salt mine in Kansas that housed deleted scenes of movies such as 2001: Space Odyssey and unmade scripts from the like of Woody Allen, Samuel Beckett, and even Stanley Kubrick's infamous Napoleon script. Job of sorting through the complexity of rights, who owns what, and who was originally involved, falls to Cynthia Waldman, who spent around 10 years at the company, blah, blah, blah. Robocop sci-fi franchise centers around the future. Oh, this just gets into who cares? All right, there we go, kids. That's the gist of it. No real surprise there. I knew sooner or later we'd start hearing about Amazon trying to exploit what few IPs MGM has, although, as they did point out there, the rights can be somewhat of a mess because of MGM's history. So what do you guys say to this? Andre, where do we begin?
Yeah, well, to briefly summarize here then, the gist of the article is that Amazon after sitting on their hands and doing nothing, have decided, hey, let's try to exploit what can be exploited out of the MGM library. That is basically the gist of the article. And there are some very interesting properties here that I would not mind continuations of at all. Robocop, for instance, just bring back Peter Weller. I mean, if I learned anything from that Mortal Kombat game from a couple of years ago, which I never played, but I saw the video clips, it was Peter Weller can definitely still do Robocop, and it would be brilliant to
Question
have
is Willie.
as old man Robocop. That'd be pretty sweet.
The question is
Stargate,
Woody.
yeah, kind of. And Stargate, again, this is a huge universe, and as was pointed out in the super chat here earlier, there is already more bad Stargate than good Stargate. So if they were to make one that's bad, no real harm there. If they make a good one, fantastic. They'll bring the brand back again. Legally Blonde, Barbershop, these are also things that you can do eternal things with. Pink Panther, I mean, there's so many ways you can go. You got the animated thing that you can do, but you can also try to bring back Inspector Clouseau in some fashion, or his son, or his grandson, if they were clever. Have Sacha Baron Cohen play him. That would certainly be my first guess. So yeah, there's a lot to work with here. My big worry is the executives at Amazon, because you have Jennifer Salke and stuff like that, and as WDW Pro revealed the other day here, when it came to the Rings of Power, they deliberately ignored the marketing research that they had paid for because they didn't like the results. When the marketers told them that what you have here is too woke and it's not going to sell, they basically just skewed the results till they got the result they wanted. I mean, with a company like that, it's not capable of bringing any of these properties back. That is my issue here. Jennifer Salke and her merry band of wokies at Amazon, and what kind of damage will they do to these properties? In principle, I'd be happy to see most of these brought back again, but not under Amazon's current administration. That's my main takeaway here. Script, what say you?
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, when Amazon spent the money they did on this library, you'd expect them to explore it, and that's what they're going to do. Sadly, the powers that be on the creative side are not great with the execution of exploring existing IPs. So I wouldn't hold your breath on getting a great show, because if it's a prominent enough of an IP, Jennifer Salke is going to get involved and do what she does. And if it's something that flies under her radar, like say the Terminal List or Reacher, then yeah, you could be lucky enough to get a good show. But again, Amazon's not going to promote those types of shows as heavily as they are their more established IP. So you'll have to do some legwork on your own as an audience member to find them.
I think that's like a pretty sad indictment of Amazon, when the only chance that a series has of actually being good is if it's so small in stature comparatively that it escapes the attention of the senior executive.
Yeah. It's very tragic.
I'm sorry I'm slow in functions, but I have been defunded.
Yeah, there you go.
That or he's going to be gender swapped. There you go.
RoboCop 2.0 is Lewis.
Sexy
now.
as hell. Yeah. Actually, that was originally the idea for RoboCop 3, believe it or not.
Would not be surprised. They did RoboCable in one of the miniseries, which is a black RoboCop with two guns.
Yeah.
Yep.
That wasn't bad, actually. That was
that was not too shabby. Yeah.
Worst score ever heard, though. But Mr. Chato, you heard this as a former network executive, assessing a company like Amazon taking on the MGM library. How excited are you for the opportunities here?
Again, depends on the executives that are remaining in Hollywood, that when else has beaten up and driven there's hearts into a stake through their hearts already. Jennifer Sulky does not create a lot of confidence for me. I think the Pratt show, well, I think predates her, didn't it?
The
No,
terminal
it doesn't predate her,
Terminal List?
but yeah, the terminal list. It doesn't predate her, but it would be something, as the script said, it's small enough in stature that she's going to be like, fine, whatever, it doesn't cost anything. I need to oversee the Wheel of Time and Rings of Power and
Right.
make sure that they are ideological and diverse enough.
Yeah, and those were two real wretched. We've already gone through that. We don't have to reread the tea leaves on those two shows. I mean, I will give her credit. She seems to be one of the few involved execs that are willing to let other people just, run with their projects and create accidental successes. So she seems to be unique in that front. I mean, certainly compared to Kathleen Kennedy and anybody at Disney. So I think some credit is due there for someone who is capable of just going, I'm too busy. Look at The Boys. I mean, The Boys that predates Sulky. But yeah, what projects is she going to have her fingers all over? Probably Legally Blonde, the stuff going to interest her. RoboCop, she could very well hand off, to the people who did the Pratt show and go, hey, go for it. I mean, if she's smart, she's going to see that it's as I call it, it's a
Pratt show
boy
something
show.
That was licensed though? Was that actually made by them?
Who? What?
No, they paid for it, but they licensed it, but they paid for it. Like they didn't buy someone who made it independently and then distributed it.
Oh, okay. That's
What show are you talking about?
The Terminal
List. I didn't know if it was like Sony or Paramount or somebody.
Yeah, but anyone who puts money into something is going to complain about it just for fun. I mean, it's the nature of Hollywood where everyone gets to have their 2 cents. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, like even distribution can have a say over what they want to distribute. So again, it only comes down to if someone made this independently and it's done and it's ready to go, and then they buy it. That's a different type of thing because they're buying it based on that product as opposed to, a deal has been made, we're pre-selling it for distribution, and now they get a chance to provide input on how the development and production of this project is going to go.
So we have to see what's going on. If suddenly it finds out that the people who did Terminal List are doing RoboCop, I'll go, oh, okay, this could very well go. I do have concerns with SG1 because for all intents and purposes, I don't know what stories are left.
After 11 seasons 11 seasons, is it?
Yeah, what's left? I have no idea. So, Legally Blonde is actually personally one of my favorite movies. I really, that is to me one of the perfect movies out there. It's just a really enjoyable romp. I didn't see the second one.
I haven't seen the second one too. But
you have or you have
no,
not?
I haven't. I haven't seen the second one. But the first one, good mystery, good character, good courtroom drama scenes.
Good reveal based on character.
Yeah.
So how many times are you going to be able to use the, wait a second, it takes a perm, you have to hold on to a perm for several days before you wash. Like, that was a great gag. After that's done, is she now just going to become a good lawyer and now you've lost the whole premise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not entirely certain you can keep that semi-dumb blonde thing going. But anyways, I never saw the second movie. You got to go through the MGM library, find out what's race and gender swappable. That would be the first thing on my list. Go through the library, find out which can be race and gender swapped. Then we'll go with those. But I also think that Sulky is going to have her hands full just trying to get ROP back on track. You wouldn't have time to do anything else but that. That's a disaster.
Well, she's already done it. Don't you remember? She made sure that there would not be one single male director for season 2.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But she'll be busy giving network notes, so the smart thing will be to just hand it off to other competent people, not Kevin Feige.
The Amazon Prime directive is to subscribe.
Yeah. You know what?
Part
There
machine,
was a
part
time
woman. It's
when
RoboSwap.
there was a time when there were executives that you actually got excited about when they got attached to a project. There's not many of them left.
Kind of like, well, speaking of RoboCop, Neil Blomkamp was attached to a sequel for a long time, and he had actually gotten Peter Weller back on board, and MGM effed that up. That was before Amazon's days.
Yeah, Neil's an interesting character in that the first movie that he did, he went, wow, this is really good. And then each subsequent movie was just that much worse.
I don't know. I like Chappie. I'll defend that one.
But nothing like District 9.
Well, we'll have to see how District 10 turns out. And actually, no, I'm not kidding. He's making it right now. No, he's making it right now. I'm not.
Is he
that's
really?
not even a joke. Yeah, no, we were one of the first people to know about it. Actually,
I mean, Chappie was a very clever idea.
I didn't mind the one with Matt Damon. It was better than I thought it was going to be because I don't know, maybe it was because everybody trashed on it so much.
I didn't see it, but I'm just going by everyone trashing it.
Yeah, Elysium. I didn't think it was nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Mr. H actually told me to watch it. He's like, trust me, it's better than you think. And I watched it. I'm like, yeah, you're wrong. You're not wrong. It was pretty good.
I'm trying to remember whether I saw it and it was so blank that I can't remember it anymore. I think I did see it, but it was very similar to the Tom Cruise.
It came out around that same period, yeah.
No, it's aesthetically, it looks very similar to this.
Yes,
to that, yeah.
What was the Tom Cruise one?
Oblivion, I believe.
Oblivion, yeah.
And that didn't do well.
In Barbershop, no problem there. Just do a series with whoever's still around and no problem there.
Probably that's the easiest one to do a series.
I know, right? On. Yeah, totally. Exactly. I mean, just pick it up wherever the last movie left off, basically, yeah.
You don't even have to do that. I mean, it's a concept. It's like black people in a barbershop.
Well, it has a following, Andre, and it has character development, and there's, I mean, I haven't seen all the movies, but I know just from the video store, there's not only the barbershop, there's the beauty shop franchise too. This is a very big franchise, and it's very popular with people. So I remember when these came out,
the more you can continue with it, the better, obviously.
That's what I'm saying. It can work as a legacy series, probably.
Yeah, so. I would say that's probably the easiest one to create a series out of.
So that means that's the one that Amazon is going to screw up the most.
Well, what's better is you got like, Cedric the Entertainer? The character he's playing is like older than him, so that's the beauty of it. Is he's still, viable and around. You can get him to do his bit, and the rest of the cast is fairly young. So
there's so much that could be done with RoboCop. So much.
That's the one I'm most worried about. Right? Like, I know some of the people in the chat are probably more worried about Stargate, and I totally understand that. I've just never been a Stargate fan, but like RoboCop's one of my jams, and I've been pissed ever since they fucked it up with Blomkamp, because I thought his idea was pretty good, because he was just going to basically ignore RoboCop 2 and 3 and just do his thing. So,
I mean, those were bigger stories. I'm going to be a heretic and put my network executive hat on. It's got to be turned into a procedural. Because you just like the character. There's going to be good shows and bad shows, but try to keep the arc to a minimum. And there's a crime that happens in Detroit, future Detroit, and you wind him up and have him go after whoever the bad guy was. And
part of it, I think you're right. The other part is, especially if they get Peter Weller, what they should have it be, because here's the thing, I don't want them to update RoboCop.
No,
I didn't hate the remake, but
no, you don't.
I think the best way to do it would be like, you find RoboCop in the basement of OCP, and they're like, "What is this?" And they realize, oh, it's RoboCop from back in the 90s. And they bring him back online, and you just call it RoboCop Rebooted or whatever, and it's old RoboCop, but like you said, he's dealing with it. It's like, kind of like a Western in that sense. Yes. He's like the old sheriff dealing with things the way he used to deal with them in a modern time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Rockford Files.
Exactly. Basically.
In a metal
not
outfit.
Quite, but yeah. Kind of, but yeah.
And he still has the old legislation of the law in his programming.
Exactly.
It's incompatible with the current legislation.
Exactly. He doesn't understand any of this shit.
You only have to make minor tweaks to have it, not go Knight Rider-ish. But, to me, that's what flummoxes me. That these are the things that worked on network television, and no one on streaming wants to go back to it for some reason. I don't get it.
Yeah. And you can also give RoboCop some upgrades. Have some fun with that.
Yeah, and the writing could be good and not stupid cheesy. Like
The costume will be a lot lighter.
Well, RoboCop
I mean, like,
does
it
have
looks the same, but it won't be as heavy to wear.
The thing with RoboCop is he's supposed to have a little bit of cheese, but only Paul Verhoeven has been the only one, and sort of Kirshner, to really understand it. Nobody else who's ever done another movie or series has ever understood the tongue-in-cheek nature of RoboCop.
RoboCop was real. It was everybody around him that was cheese. That's his brilliance. That was
pretty much, yeah.
Verhoeven was commenting on that was.
No, you're absolutely 100% correct. RoboCop just plays it straight.
Yep.
He's basically Clint Eastwood in every, Western or whatever. It's all the characters that make up Detroit that are basically comic book characters.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that's simply because that's how it started, like that satire and everything. Paul Verhoeven, he just got it, but it was already there because the movie started out as an adaptation of Judge Dredd, and all of those elements, they're straight from Judge Dredd. Oh yes,
absolutely. It's a family friendly Judge Dredd.
Stargate, I think, is going to be the trickiest one for him. I agree.
I don't know how family friendly the first RoboCop is, but
no, it's not.
But
that was the thing they learned pretty quick after the second film, is that, oh shit, and that was kind of the end of the franchise at the same time, because they're like, kids like this stuff, so we got to tame it down, and he ended up losing the core audience in the process of. So
Saturday, they should just kept the Saturday morning cartoon and R-rated movies, and you'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, kids don't like stuff for kids. They like stuff for adults.
No shit. I've told this story before, but I remember when I was younger, we rented RoboCop so many times from the store. My dad finally goes, "Can we just buy this?" Because they've got to have paid for it by now. And that was when my dad realized how much these movies were, even though, he used to get them all the time. He never realized how much they cost. Because they're like, "Oh yeah, you can buy it. It's like $80." He's like, "Fuck that."
Those
we rented it like every day one summer. Yeah. We watched RoboCop so many times, and that was a time when it was okay to let kids watch an R-rated film. What's the worst in it? Just some bullets and fuck words. No problem.
Yeah. When the other robot designed to replace RoboCop shot the guy through the window out the. Everyone in the
Ed 209. Yeah, that's an iconic scene.
Iconic moment, and everyone in the theater howled because they just went, "I'm so happy he got it."
Well, that's the thing, is you have to understand there is a tongue-in-cheek humor.
Oh,
to RoboCop.
yeah.
It is over the top on purpose, and I think that's part of the reason my parents didn't care, was because the violence, even though the scene where, of course,
the executive gets shot,
Murphy gets killed. Well, that part's funny, but where Murphy gets killed is very visceral and real.
Yeah,
that's probably the worst part of the film.
Yeah.
Other than that, all the violence and action is very cartoony. Like that's
and
over
the
the top on
relationship
purpose.
he has with the female cop is one of the best relationships I think I've ever seen in a movie of this kind.
Lewis, yeah. Well, she was written as a guy originally too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Lewis, they didn't change nothing. They just made her a female instead.
And it was a good choice.
Yeah. And Mr. Tickle Trunk's right. By the time you get to that third act, a motherfucker explodes, right? Like not like blows up. No. He explodes
all over the windshield.
I think at that point, all bets are
off. And having Ronnie Cox as the bad guy was fantastic.
Oh, inspired. Yeah.
Inspired.
Doesn't wash his hands after using the washroom.
Yeah, I know. And then also Bob, the guy that, the other guy, the whole cast is great. Kurtwood Smith and everything.
Here's a quick washing hands thing. I was going to a big meeting, big company. This was going to be a big website job, couple $100,000. But I go into the washroom first. I go into the stall. I'm sitting down to whatever I need. Someone comes in next to me. He was wearing very unusual socks. He got out first, did not wash his hands, and left. I'd walk into my meeting. I'd go into my meeting, and there, right in front of me, one of the three guys, I recognized the socks, and he sticks his hand out to shake my hand.
Seinfeld episode.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's not your real life.
Well, no, I mean, it's not like that. It's just like that is. Totally
sorry. I thought. Oh my god. Yeah, that was a Seinfeld moment, and
Jerry, I can't shake his hand.
and I did the hand out and then pulled my hand back and brushed my hair back, and everyone laughed. Hey, that's pretty clever. I went, whoa. I mean, I didn't want to touch his hand. Yep. Seinfeld can use that. That is a perfect Seinfeld.
I can see that as a sign, or even like a Ricky Gervais bit too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did something like that with, I believe, the Poppy episode with trying to eat the pie, and Jerry was just shaking his head no. Couldn't explain why. Yeah.
The only thing that's different is Ricky Gervais would have it be the reverse. He would have it to where he had to rush himself through the bathroom and didn't wash his hands, and he would have to like shake somebody important's hand, and it would be like all awkward that way. Yeah. And you would never, because that's the way Ricky does it that way. He always flips it around somehow, and it's always amazing how he does it.
The main question is, does Amazon have any money left to do any of these shows?
No. Well, yeah, they got money.
But that is
Rings of Power, though, that's a good question.
To get back to track, because Amazon, of course, they have a shit ton of money, so that's no issue at all. The Amazon Prime Video Production Division, do they have any money left after the Rings of Power? Well, their budgets are probably a little bit depleted, but of course that can always be refilled by corporate, because Amazon corporate has a ton of money. Amazon is not going to go under. What I am more curious about is, why the hell do we have to have this conversation? Why does Jennifer Salke still have a job? Because after the complete and total disaster that was the Rings of Power, we now know it was a flop. They have admitted it. It didn't attract many viewers to begin with, and of those few that were attracted, 2/3 were lost by the final episode of season 1. So what does that mean for season 2, which isn't coming out for like another year and a half, and it's directed by only women, so it'll have the stigma of just doubling down on what didn't make the first season work. Why are these people still employed at Amazon Prime Video? Because we should be excited by this, but we're not. We're talking about what could be, but we know it's not going to happen, not under Jennifer Salke.
Good point.
And same thing with Stargate. I hope it will turn out fine for the fans, but that is one of those things that will have to be have such a high budget that Jennifer Salke is going to get personally involved with it. She's going to give it her particular brand of magic. She's going to be like, this has to be female-centric. This has to be so-and-so diverse. The audience, the worldwide audience, this needs to reflect the world, meaning it needs to reflect my postcode in LA.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, Andre. We should be worried. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I'm very worried on the behalf of every Stargate fan out there. I see nothing to indicate that Amazon is remotely capable of handling this, unless they get like an incredible showrunner that gets autonomy. I'm very worried for basically all of this.
So far, about the only wokish production that has really caught the audience's attention would be The Last of Us on HBO or Max, whatever it's on now.
How was the ratings?
I think spectacular.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's been doing well. But I mean, so you basically admitting that it's woke? Because I've seen some people debating on all that, but we all know where it's headed anyway. So
yep, I said wokish.
Okay. Well, I mean, of all these, I think the only one that's safe is Barbershop. Because I don't think they'll fuck with that too much. But Legally Blonde, Robocop, and Stargate, I'm a little worried for. Even though I could give a shit about Legally Blonde, but I could see that suffering from being under the weight of not being able to be funny without worrying about being,
Well, I don't know where you go with Legally Blonde.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is first of all, people are going to say, "Oh, it's problematic that you have this character who's this stupid person." Blah 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 blah. It's
right.
Like, well, then you don't get the point of the whole story to begin with. Is that she uses her, her ways to, do her job, You know, like that. There's
and
a
in the
way
first movie, the
Yeah.
a lot of antagonism came from the sexless group of law students who demeaned the idea that she was this blonde, bimbo-ish, pink dressing woman.
Right. Like I just see them having a problem dealing with its subject matter.
Yeah, I don't see how a present day woke studio could do Legally Blonde. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I think that could be an issue. But let's see what the chat's saying. What do you guys say?
Yeah, let's do that.
We did get this one right. No, this is the other one for Rod. Rod sent another $11 and said, "Hail Midnight Edge in the morning, Paul. Dr. Hose is the greatest for back problems. I'd also suggest an inversion chair.
Yes.
Wish I could show an old wrestling cure for a back problem. Script, I'll be available to talk tomorrow or Sunday."
Oh, cool, Rod. Just give me an actual time, and I'll set it up.
Yeah. And then we got Maverick Christian who says Star Trek
Thank
Picard isn't. Yeah, there you go. Is not the first time Troy was useful. See TNG episode Face of the Enemy, but Troy was often underutilized in TNG. Yeah, but
Yep.
didn't Troy crash the fucking ship?
Well, she was manning the con when it landed on Viridian.
That's
3.
what happens when you give her the fucking controls. It goes instantly into the ground.
In Face of the Enemy, she was kidnapped and forced to be in Romulan face for that one. Her better episode was actually the one where she had to do the command exam for to get her third pip, and I can't remember what. That's the one where Data is has amnesia and he's on an alien planet, and under the name of Galen. So that was probably one of the few times where Deanna Troi had some significant stuff. She didn't do much in Fistful of Datas or any of the other episodes that kind of featured her. She was actually kind of potentially okay in the episode where the ship hits a quantum filament and then goes dark, and she's stuck on the bridge as the commanding officer and has to deal with Ro Laren and Chief O'Brien while Picard hangs out with kids in the turbo lift, and Keiko gives birth. So yeah. Her point in Skin of Evil was damsel in distress. That's basically the one where Tasha dies.
Damsel in distress who made it out alive.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, it was like we sacrificed our chief security officer for the counselor on the bridge of the ship.
Well, because she wanted out of the show.
Oh yeah, no, and I don't begrudge Denise Crosby for that, because she was literally being told, "Hey, you got to work 8 hours, but you don't say anything in the scenes. We just need a shot of your legs." And it's like, can't a double do that? No, it's got to be you. Well, then I'm leaving, and completely understandable.
I don't know that it worked out too well for her though.
Well, she got into directing quite quickly after that. So,
okay,
yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad for her. But yeah, let's move on and see what else the audience have to say.
Yes, we've got Rod Thunderheart again, who says, "By the way, Paul, wrestling cure is painless. Case you worried." There you go. So
Wrestling cure.
Used to be a wrestler.
Yeah, the wrestling cure for badass. It's not being pile drived, evidently.
Yeah. Now I have a history of chronic backache, so I know how to deal with it. I pushed down a set of concrete stairs when I was 14.
Ouch.
Ooh.
They thought it was funny.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. 200 Watt Studio says Stargate SG-1 is was Morality Tales, very Star Trek. Yeah, that's kind of why I never really got into it. It just kind of felt like we've already done this, but the movie to me felt like an adventure and all that kind of stuff. But then when you get into the nerdy stuff, I kind of fell out.
Why does every planet look like the forest from BC, British Columbia?
Yep.
Because it's cheap.
Yes.
It's too far to drive to the desert part of British Columbia.
War 2 says any Stargate reboot needs to address the cliffhanger SGU season 2 ending, even if it's only one episode that show needs proper conclusion. Yeah, you can hope for that, but I highly doubt that would happen. But you never know. Never say never. Depends on who's involved, who's in charge, and how they establish this. I have a feeling it'll probably be a complete reboot, but you never know.
Yeah.
We got Seaman here who says with these studios being brought up by large corporations that originally were not in entertainment, does this remind you of the 60s and 70s when large companies like Gulf Western bought up Paramount? Seems like a cycle. It is very similar. I've actually made this comparison before. C-Man. What C-Man's talking about is when all the moguls were dying out and the studios were selling out. The first companies to really buy them up back in the day were not entertainment-driven companies. There was like Seagram's, and Coca-Cola ended up buying Columbia. Sony eventually bought
Columbia.
Columbia,
but that was in the 90s. But Coke owned Columbia for years. And Kinney, as you said, was with Warner. And Warner's changed hands a few times in the last 20 years. MGM has changed hands, since the 60s, like 6 times, if not more.
Once a decade, almost, pretty much.
At least, I mean, it's been crazy for them. Paramount has only been just after Gulf and Western. Wasn't that when
Viacom, I think?
Viacom bought them up, and that's they pretty much been under the Redstones ever since, I believe.
National Amusements for.
But otherwise, after that point, Disney was the only one that didn't get bought up by another corporation, pretty much. They barely made it through the 70s, but up until Eisner came in, then it was kind of rough. But no, this was a time that was both bad, and then it eventually changed for movies. In fact, I think a show that really kind of showed this time period very well was The Offer. Because in that period was where guys like Bob Evans were taking chances, and they really changed the industry at that point. But it's a very nuanced discussion to get into that we don't have time for here. But I think it's comparable, but the woke is a different thing, right? Like, that's different.
Well, part of the challenge too is just the volume of content that needs to be made now.
That too.
It's really hard to line up an individual or a production company, with a positive record. I think Bad Robot wanted to be that company, but they just couldn't pull it off.
Well, that's more of a production company. He's actually talking about the studios proper, but yeah.
But production companies work for studios.
Yes, they do. But Mr. Think says, I foresee Robocop as a non-binary female. Yeah, it'll be RoboSwap. He'll decide, I want to be a woman. 200 Watt Studio says the only bad Stargate is the film. I don't know. I liked it. The 3 TV series are well written and extrapolate on the film and concept. Great stories and great character work. Anyone who claims it is bad hasn't seen it. Yeah, I really haven't. I didn't say it was bad though either. So
getting back to RoboCop, he can't be non-binary. He's binary. He's either on or off.
Yep.
I reject your hypothesis, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, that actually worries me. I'm sure they're going to find something in between, charging or something.
They'll definitely find a way to make a female officer a new RoboCop.
Especially if Jennifer Salke has anything to do with it.
You're right. Watch it. What it'll be is the new improved female RoboCop versus the old RoboCop, and he's obsolete.
I hate it when we're making sense.
It was too gruesome just to chop up Weller. I'd hate to see the same thing happen to a female version.
Oh no, she'll volunteer because nothing like that can happen.
Yeah, it's brave and stunning that way.
Yeah.
Or she'll just lose her legs or something in an explosion, and she'll be like, "Make me a robot like him." C-Man says, with the failure of Rings of Power, how is Jennifer Salke not being held accountable? Is she like KK and immune from consequences of failure? No. But I don't think all the blame falls on her shoulder. Her shoulder.
No, but much of it does. And
much of it does, but...
yeah. And in a flop like this, I mean, honestly, script, Paul, based on how much they spent on this and how they even pre-committed for 5 years. 5 years they have pre-committed. They have committed to a spending of billions that they can't get out of, no matter what kind of flop we're talking about here. Well, of course they can, but they're basically going to have to pay a cancellation fee that's so big that they might as well just carry on. I mean, this kind of a flop, arguably the biggest flop in TV history, if anything calls for human sacrifice, it's something like this. And I think it's incredible that no one, at least not that we know of, has been fired over it.
Well, that's because you're coming at this thinking that Hollywood runs the same way as any other business, and it really doesn't.
That's probably my mistake.
I mean, even to piggyback off of Paul's video that he released this morning, he's very much correct with regards to how mergers and acquisitions work and whatnot. They're most likely doomed to fail than succeed. When it comes to Hollywood, there's a whole nother spectrum of ego involved as well, where you either buy it to just keep it as it is and let it do its thing, and you just want to reap in the profits, or you buy it because you think you can make it better, and usually that leads most often or not to the failure of things, especially in the studio system. It's why when we see these reports that other studios are looking to be sold, people always go to, well, it's going to be another studio that buys it. Well, not always. It's actually in the better interest of the studio that's up for sale to be bought by something that's not a studio, for either the reasons of they just want to buy it and reap on the profits, and hopefully that's the direction it goes, or they buy it and they try to manipulate what it is naturally to fit the company's corporate brand, in which case it is more than likely doomed to fail. That's the behavior of those transactions, as it were, when it comes into Hollywood and basically an executive making a decision and then it fails. Well, if they're at a high enough tier, they can point the finger at everyone below them to basically say that they're responsible because my idea was good and they just didn't do it properly. And you can also play around with the idea that, oh yeah, that when I got reports from them and things of progress and whatnot, they were just lying to me. And as a result, I'm getting rid of them, or I'm pushing them aside and I'm bringing in new people because I know my idea works. And if we just get the best people to do it, then everything will be a-okay, and they can get away with that for a few times. And that's just how it works. The other aspect too is there's a lot of relationships involved, and you don't want to burn bridges in those relationships because you never know when you might be out the door and one of the people that you helped get there might be your next job. So there's a lot of people at Amazon that are probably less likely to want to get rid of Jennifer Salke because she might end up somewhere else that they will have to eventually need to apply for a job for, and they don't want to ruin that opportunity.
Yeah, that is that unfortunately is the sad reality of I think Hollywood in particular. Hollywood.
Well, don't forget that Amazon has a huge investment in Jennifer also.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough one to throw away.
Worst investment ever.
And she was probably acting on Bezos' charges anyhow. So
and the enormity of this project, really the fault lies with whoever thought that these two raw guys were somehow going to be able to make this all work. The only way, if I was running this thing, that I could even conceive of it working is to find some equivalent to J.R.R. Martin. Is that his name? J.R.R. Martin?
Tolkien.
No,
okay.
Not J.R.R. Martin. Okay, someone who's still alive, not Tolkien. Tolkien's dead.
Yeah.
Someone.
I mean George R.R. Martin. Sorry.
Yes. Or George R.R. Martin with that ability to create a universe out of the scraps that Amazon purchased. There's no way I would have started this without someone of that capability creating the universe first, like a Neil Gaiman, someone with imagination. I don't know how they could have started it this way. That's the piece that completely flummoxes me.
Yeah, so basically how you could give it to two guys who have, well, basically nothing. They've done a bunch of writing behind the scenes, but they didn't have a zero actual credit that made it all the way in front of a camera and to an audience where they got the credit.
Yeah, and no world building background.
Yeah, well, but J.J. Abrams vouched for them. He said they were really good. Doesn't that mean anything?
He is one of the worst world builders I don't even think he knows how to build a world.
No,
None of
he
his.
can only sell a world. He can't build one.
No, there's no world building, no imagination. I mean, look at the world building that J.K. Rowling created. I mean, unbelievable. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention her name. I don't want to get us into trouble. But
no, you can mention her name. It's like it's the reason of why we have to be careful about or why you think we can't mention her name. The details of that there we have to be careful.
so there's a handful of people who have written very detailed, interesting worlds. Like I can't remember his name. The guy who wrote Wheel of Time.
Robert Gordon.
Robert Gordon.
Robert Jordan.
Sorry.
Robert Jordan. I would have handed this, and I wouldn't have got him to do the script. I would have had him. Okay, you are creating a world here out of these few little bits that we have available.
Yeah,
and that's how you.
There's a challenge in the particular case of Robert Jordan, though.
Well, because they ruined his show.
What? No, that he's dead.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's right. That's right. Sorry. And one of his offsprings, I think, continued to work on Wheel of Time. Anyway, doesn't matter. Someone like him, someone not dead, would be useful. Actually, someone dead of his quality would be better than the two guys they picked.
I was about to say.
I knew it.
Sorry,
I took your joke.
Compared to what we got, I do believe that the showrunner is no longer with us. Probably would be a step in the right direction. But anyway, let's move on with these super chats because we really spiraled out of control on this one.
Uh-oh.
Didn't we? Yeah. So next up we have
Destiny Captain.
Yeah. Who says there is one mediocre Stargate movie and 3 great Stargate series.
That seems to be the consensus.
Yeah.
Alex Ashgan has been here for 7 months and says there's one good Stargate movie, 2 great shows, and the soap opera on the spaceship show. There you go. Wartooth says they could reboot Stargate by having the crew of the Destiny finally get to the center of the universe, but in their idiocy, they destroy that universe and make a reboot. They probably
or they just combine Legally Blonde with Stargate.
There you go. Truck driving gamer says, which was more disturbing, the on-screen death of the kid bad guy in Robocop 2 or the toddler in Pet Sematary? Both are tragic, but done so well. Pet Sematary. The kid in Robocop 2 deserved it.
No, I agree.
No, he was a little asshole.
Yeah. No, I mean, that guy, he was a mass murderer in the making, and honestly, like him,
he's one of the better bad guys.
Himself from the gene pool is the best thing he ever did for the world. Whereas that little kid in Pet Sematary didn't have nothing wrong; he was just an innocent toddler. Yeah. So yeah, one was tragic. The other one, well, the tragedy happened long before he. It
was a lesson learned.
Yeah. The tragedy in his life was getting to that point in the first place. But once
I'll tell you what. Oh, go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, no. That was basically it. Once he was there, that was the best thing that could happen.
I was going to say, yeah, because I was like, what, 10, 11 years old when that movie came out? So, like, I'm roughly that kid's age. I'm like, shit, that stuck with me. Like, he made the wrong decisions, and he ended up getting killed in it. So, yeah. I know a lot of people, that was a controversial bit, especially Siskel and Ebert made a big deal out of that.
Yeah, I was surprised they did that.
Yeah, but I was like, no, man, they took a chance with that one. Because they knew that's their audience, too, on top of it all. Daniel says, script nailed it. Only productions which fly under the radar have a chance of being unmolested. Normal stories that succeed only contrast their crap. Well, yeah, great example of this is MASH, the original MASH. They got that made the way it was because the studio wasn't paying attention. They were busy dealing with other crap. Like Cleopatra at the time, speaking of
the notes.
Events.
My God, the network notes. They're
did you have to deal
legendary.
With
they just never stop.
Nope. Oh, if they do stop, you're in trouble.
Yes, someone always has to say something.
Wartooth says District 10 is dead after the film Demonic flopped. Did it really? I as far as I know, it was still happening, but I'd have to check into that, Wartooth. We do have some connections in that region. Jesus Davila has been here. He gifted 1 membership. Thank you so much, Jesus. WIFT sends in 22 Canadian dollars, and says, dropping off a tip for you boys. Listening to you guys in the morning reminds me of when I worked at Blockbuster talking shop. Keep up the great work. Hail Midnight's Edge in the morning. Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, yeah, and thanks for the support. That's much appreciated, and we're glad to bring back the fond memories.
Trust me, I wish I had an audio recorder sitting there on the days I was sitting there, just slow days at the video store, and some of the conversation we'd have. It's hilarious. You think some of the shit in Clerks is funny?
And there was that Blockbuster show that they had on briefly. That was horrible.
That's
the Netflix one? Yeah, that was terrible because it took nothing of the Blockbuster experience.
Nothing.
Well, it doesn't even, from what I heard, they didn't obviously consult with anybody who'd ever worked at a video store.
I don't get how you do something like that. And as a writer, it's all about research and writing as little as you possibly can. If you can find the scripts and plots someplace else, I mean, why not?
No, Blockbuster Video should have been a period piece set in the 90s or something, like right at their peak of saturation across the globe. And instead they basically just, it was Netflix just crapping on Blockbuster, which was, I understand that concept is fine, but they just did not have fun with it.
Oh, you sneaky devil. That makes
sense. And I hate giving Kevin Smith some credit here, but Randall is the ultimate video store clerk. Like, I knew him if I wasn't him at every video store, right? Like, that's the thing, is they missed out. I didn't watch it, but they missed an opportunity there, because
every single character except for the main clerk or the owner of this store, they were interchangeable. Like, okay,
that's not how it works, though. Yeah, you got to have your bubbly, stupid blonde or whatever that doesn't understand any of this shit, but just has the job because the boss wants to boink.
And then there's the one guy that goes, "Oh, that's the 1939 edition. That's the one with Ray Milland. That's the one that's better. It's about 8 minutes longer, but you'll like the scene where the blah 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 blah."
That's the Quentin Tarantino employee.
You have to have the one idiot that thinks everything is acclaimed.
Yes. Well, that's your That's usually the guy who will not admit that he's gay, but you can tell he is. And he loves the musicals, obviously, but just won't put the connection together. And then you have, like I said, the Randall character who thinks everybody is fucking stupid. Like I said, and usually I was either the Tarantino and the Randall guy together, or I was hanging out with the Randall guy. So,
the person, the clerk who sighs when you pick a movie that they don't like. Oh,
that's the Randall guy. That's the Randall. That's the only time he shows any effort. He doesn't do anything until you do something he hates, and then he pipes up. It's like, you don't want to. It's like, do you even know your fucking daughter? She don't want to see that fucking movie. You know, like. That's the kind of guy that they make me laugh every time, but they only last usually about 2-3 months, and then they always get rehired. That's the beauty of it.
That's right.
They're the guy who's been fired and rehired 3 times.
Or you have the one store where every 3 months there's a new manager.
Oh, that would bother me.
Yep. I remember that quite vividly.
That's usually the company's way of saving some money, because as soon as the one manager would get good enough where they'd ask for a raise, they'd fire him or move him, and they bring in somebody else.
Hey, that happens in corporate.
That happens. Yep.
You know,
I was thinking the reverse, that the managers were so bad they just keep on getting fired because
that's why I got shit canned, because they didn't want to give me a raise and they didn't want to give me an advancement in anything. So I was like, fuckers. So I went and started my own. I'm like, fuck you, I'll start my own with hookers and blackjack. And then I ended up renting a building where the guy's like, yeah, you can't rent porn. I'm like, you fucker. Anyway, Naman's the RooTuber says Law and Order, but it's RoboCop and Legally Blonde. That'd be an interesting combo.
Yeah. Dun dun dun.
The blonde is the district attorney.
Yeah. Yeah. So RoboCop arrests them, takes them down, and then hands them off to the DA. I like it.
If you want to make RoboCop good, though, you got to have a DA who's like uber woke and like progressive liberal.
You have to have a robot DA, basically.
Oh, no. Yeah, that'd be even better. Robo DA.
Robo DA.
Robo attorney.
200 Watt Studio says RoboCop, aka Murphy, was the most human character. Every other character in that film had lost their humanity. Exactly. Like, yeah, I could wax for days on RoboCop, man.
It's such a good movie.
It is. And then he says, 200 Watt Studios also says Murphy gets his humanity taken away from him. The other character gave up their humanity freely. Yes. And the movie's about him regaining his humanity. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, the anime guy, says, confession, I saw Robocop as a 7-year-old. Me too. At my friend's house. Every time we had a sleepover, we watched that show. Robocop is top 5 movie of all time. Mine too. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Master Clockwork says, had it been long enough since Boring Cop 2014. You know, I didn't end up hating that remake as much as I thought I would when it came out. I was so dead set against it. And then when I saw it, I'm like, you know what? This had potential. And there's some good stuff in here. And you and I have talked about it in the background quite a bit, Andre. I know that.
Absolutely. I mean, that movie, it has issues, but it's not that bad.
It's not without some merit, as they would say. And it had some good ideas. I like how they twisted some things from the original movie on its head. You know, because in the original film, they really kind of made him cold and stuff when it comes to certain things with the family side of things. Like, they just totally disregard his family. I mean, they write him out of the story, basically. In the new one, that's what I liked, is that they because I'm like, wouldn't his wife be like, you got my husband and he's alive? You know, like...
But he's not your husband.
Yeah, I know, and that's what they keep trying to argue, but like, that's the whole point, is like, you know, and that's what I liked about the new one, is that he was the same guy up until they turned him into the, you know, the cyborg machine, more or less. And then he had to regain it. It was just, I liked the twists in it a little bit more, or not a little bit more, but I liked that they did try some things that were different. That's what I like about remakes, when they actually try something different. Nightmare on Elm Street had that opportunity and they fucked it up. But yeah, no, I didn't think it was as bad as most people did. But it's best left where it's at. We need to get Peter Weller back and go back to basics.
Yes, absolutely.
Edgy number 1. What was that? Sorry.
Otherwise, there's no point.
Yeah. Edgy number 1 has been a member for 24 months. That's 2 years. Thank you so much. Happy anniversary. We will be doing something, hopefully this next Tuesday. That's right. Brandon, the anime guy, says, holy crap, Nancy Allen was and is a fox. Well, she looks pretty good for her age. Not too bad. Edgy number 1 says, Amazon Studios, Jeff Bezos, side hustle, hope is lost. Well, I don't know about that. Lost Warrior Seeks Fandom says, the Expanse guys are doing Stargate. It's a movie that launches a show, and it's for MGM Plus. The issue is the budget and sulky. There you go.
Well, that's a good crew of people.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least they're getting people who have had experience in similar genre. Yeah.
Yeah, and they can do, you know, the ethnic management of that stuff quite well without making it overtly horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll actually do right where they fucked up Conan.
Yeah,
You're talking about Amazon.
Yeah. They inadvertently made their own competition. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, but it wasn't the Expanse guys. The Expanse guys didn't do.
No, I know, but this is what I'm saying, is if they actually do this is actually them doing the right move for once.
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to, screwing it up like they did with Conan.
Expanse was good.
Because they ended up getting the right people to run Conan, and then they told them you can't do what you normally do.
Yeah.
Right, so as long as they don't do that to these guys, they'll be fine. Because that seems to be their MO. Hire somebody who can do the job, but tell them not to do the job, or hire somebody that's totally the wrong person for the job. And that's generally their MO. So,
unfortunately, yes.
I don't know why, but it only makes sense to them. Master Clockwork says, a modern Legally Blonde would have her be a social media influencer, probably. Just you watch, she'll win a case because of weaponized autism. I don't know if they'll go to that point. But I think they'll have an issue with having her being a bubbly, ditz or anything like that, or using certain aspects of her personality or certain, I don't think they'll have her be like a total Valley girl or anything. Probably race swap too, you watch. Morgan King has been a member for 19 months. A Stargate will become a wormhole extreme. That's some science stuff there for you. Mecha J says Robocop versus Dredd. Who would win this fight? Robocop. But Dredd would put up a hell of a fight.
Dredd would win. Robocop would put up a hell of a fight.
I think Dredd would win because Dredd has a lot more tools at his disposal than Robocop.
He also has a shit ton more experience.
He does,
and
have
he's
more
also
speed.
defeated machines that are equal to or greater than RoboCop.
So is RoboCop.
In the fight of original versus ripoff, the original wins in this one.
Yeah.
I'm still going with RoboCop. Novella Princess says Legend of Zelda TOTK final trailer is all those
Great.
little faces.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's pretty emotional, and I'm also guessing that this is something for the Nintendo Switch.
Must be.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they ain't teasing the movie yet. Benton sent us in $1, didn't say anything, but just sent in $1. Thank you for the tip. Yes, indeed. JRG Project, says you can't please everyone. The Borg being behind the curtain for a Picard series is very appropriate for the series. If this was Captain Worf, I'd expect that Romulan's taking the center villain role. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Daniel says, aren't the shill articles proclaiming shows like Rings of Power being a huge success just investor smokescreens? Shouldn't people go to prison Enron style? Well, okay. If you're talking about like if they were lying on their books to their shareholders and all that kind of stuff, that'd be a different conversation. But as far as like the press claiming it's a big, huge success, well, Andre pointed out in plenty of the videos about Rings of Power about how they hedged themselves heavily, having a feeling that this was going to fall flat on its face.
Tremendously. I've never seen such hedging in reviews before. Like almost all the reviews, they like praised this one aspect, and then they were so modest and they pointed out flaws about this other aspect, but overall positive. But always leaving those hedges in there, like they knew that this is bad. This is going to blow up in everyone's faces.
Yeah. And I guess we missed the joke on the wormhole thing. I guess that was a Stargate parody.
Well, I guess the audience caught it, but I guess it probably helps if you've actually seen that show.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know anything about Stargate, so yeah. But yeah, no, obviously if there was more to this, Daniel, I mean, it's just them making a bad investment at this point. I mean, you can't really, unless they're caught with some kind of corporate shenanigans, then no. It's just to chalk it up to a loss, and that's why they're trying to push hard for the second season, Discovery style, and trust us, when the trailers come out, it'll be like a whole new show. Will it be good, though? That has yet to be seen. I doubt it. So we'll see on that. And then we've got a few more super chats here, and then we'll get into the Iger business. DCB Titan says, I can't wait to see Robocop deal with a trans. Don't worry, sir. The situation has been resolved.
It's ma'am.
A critical error has occurred. Rebooting.
I can totally see them going in that direction, by the way. That's like the fifth directive, thou shalt not misgender.
Well, watch. There's like, I can almost predict, like, okay, if they actually do go with the idea that I said earlier, like Robocop's been sitting in the basement of OCP all this time in cryo freeze or something like that, and somebody discovers him after they're cleaning out the basement, and like, fuck it, let's bring out Robocop because crime's on the rise in New Detroit and blah 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 blah. Watch, they have somebody say, why are you bringing back Robocop? Yeah, he was always busting more black guys anyway. You know they're gonna have something like that, right? Where yeah, I don't think they only had but one black villain in the entire series. I could just see them doing that, just like to bring in the BLM shit just on purpose. Anyway, Lost Warrior Seeks Fandom says, Picard showing up on Nielsen 9 in subcategory, going up against nothing of consequence. How is this considered a success? No STD was the bested. I think he means bestest. It showed up in 9 in the subcategory.
It showed up in the top 10 of the subcategory at Nielsen, but there's no real, I mean, yeah, it's actually quite factual. There's no real competition right now.
You got Mandalorian and a few
That's
other
not
shows.
Competing.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
it
but
is.
actually, this is a good question because, like, yeah, now it shows up in the top 10, and granted, this may be better than what any other Star Trek series does, but still, it doesn't seem very impressive. Like, it's not exactly Mandalorian numbers now, is it?
But look where it scraped itself up from.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Well,
that's still an accomplishment. It brought itself up from those two parts.
Repairing brand is almost impossible.
Yeah.
well, and this is what I said for a while. Like when people keep asking, "Well, is this going to mean anything?" Because I said, "Not really. Not unless it blows the doors off the ratings or something like that." And I mean, this is an improvement. Will it be enough to actually make some change? I don't know, because everything went dead silent on Star Trek. I have no idea what's going on. We did our recent report on it. We haven't heard anything since. We were supposed to get some announcements, and those didn't happen.
I've heard mixed things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, it's very.
I've heard that the chaos behind the scenes continues, and beyond that, I don't know where the dust has settled.
The only reason I can see this, and this is just me speculating here, so don't take this with any. Like, I haven't heard anything on this, but I can just speculate that I think the executives are taking notice of this. And if there was a plan to go forward with Kurtzman Trek the way it was, that may be being reevaluated after the success of Metalis Trek. That's my best guess.
I can tell. Yeah. I don't think that you are entirely wrong, because what I have heard, I have heard mixed things from several people. But if I were to average it out, the recurring thing I'm hearing from Star Trek right now is that they were kind of considering or did renew Secret Hideout's deal with Star Trek specifically because they wanted Star Trek Legacy, because that is what they have that's successful right now. Whereas Kurtzman was like, yeah, well, I'll take the renewal, but I'm not giving you any legacy. Screw that. We're doing my stuff. We're doing my Discovery stuff. I mean, that's what the Academy is. And we're definitely doing Section 31, which he's obsessed with. And screw this Metallo stuff. Screw that guy. I don't like him because he did better than me and made me look foolish. That's kind of like what I'm hearing a little bit. And so now Paramount are like, wait a second. We want legacy. We don't care about your stuff so much. We want legacy. And then right there's like some headbutting going on.
Yeah, because I think what Paramount, I mean, the stuff that I know is that Terry Metalis was just hired on contract for Secret Hideout. He's not a part of Secret Hideout. He's not with them. And the renewal that we know of, at least the one that's been officiated, was done over a year ago, or not over a year ago. I think August of last year, right?
Yeah, but that was the overall deal with the studio. That wasn't Secret Hideout and Star Trek. Those
Yes.
two different things. So his overall deal was extended. Secret Hideout's Star Trek deal expires this year.
Yes. Yeah, he's with them for 2026 for any original programming.
Exactly. But the Star Trek thing, that is the thing that had to be renewed and was renewed, and maybe it wasn't after all. That I don't know. There, I'm now hearing mixed things, which tells me the dust has not yet settled.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't heard anything other than they're still on development production for season 3 of Strange New Worlds, but nothing has moved on it yet. And even one of the names that was listed on as part of the production was someone who I worked with on Suicide Squad way back. And when I reached out to them, they said, no, it must be someone with the same name because they're not working on that. They're working on actually a movie during that period. So yeah, it's I wish I had information to help people confirm that. That would have been helpful.
Yeah, but one can't have everything, as one says. So yeah, that's the best we got right now in this moment. So moving on from there.
Yes. We've got Pinochet's Helicopter Tours, who says, Paul, with all due respect, you state many times that you don't understand why studios make certain choices. You ignore that banks mandate those ideologies. An illusion of choice. Beware of cognitive dissonance.
Well, I am not embedded the way I was several decades ago. I mean, I don't know. There's always been bookkeepers. I mean, accountants, bean counters. We always made fun of them. I'd like the bean counters to come back and just say, "Hey guys, can you make stuff that makes us money? I'm running out of cash." I'd like the real bean counters to take back Hollywood. I'd be much happier with that. And as far as the ideologies and ESG and all this stuff, I don't know how. I mean, I have a vague notion of how all that works, but is it short-term gain for long-term pain? I don't know. Companies are weird.
Yeah, and they're weirder now than when you were there. I promise you.
Oh,
that.
It was way more fun back then. It was.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't doubt that for a second. I mean, things I believe were probably the most fun in the 80s.
Oh yeah,
80s and 90s.
Drugs and sex.
Yeah,
Damn
exactly.
right. Rory Mitchell's been here for 2 years. Thank you so much, Rory, for being a member. The Iranian Putin says, "Hola, senor." Well, hola, Iranian Putin. Abdulio says, "Robocop 2 shows what happens when SJWs get." I can see where you come from. I'd probably argue more Robocop 3, but yeah. Doug 1985 says, "Always saw Clerks as a white version of Friday." You know, it's funny you say that, even though I would say there's no real connection to them story-wise, other than a couple story about a couple slackers. One weekend when my parents were gone, and I had just gotten Clerks and Friday on video, and I showed it to a bunch of people. So all weekend long, we watched them back to back, like just over and over again. It's really weird that you brought those two up together, though. But yeah. Lord Akira says, "Ukraine, me Tarzan." Lord Pepsi just says, "Robocop." Okay.
That was worth $2.
It was. Tommy Review says, "Murphy's Murder used to traumatize me as a kid, but afterwards the movie was awesome as a child." Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Edgy number one
brutal.
says, "Disney had Cat Valentine and unofficially explained her ditziness due to ADHD. Legally Blonde could go down this road." Well, they could, but like it's what's wrong with her just being a ditz? Daniel Statesman says, "Remake this blank lovers. We got pink blank Harry blank. Oh, yeah, angry blank, and we got no blank." Yeah, making fun of the whole From Dusk Till Dawn bit. Yeah. I think those are all supposed to be pussy, just for those who are curious. Paulus Plain sends in 100 Norwegian kronen, says, "Part 1 history lesson, U.S. Army Air Forces. Part of the Army, 1941 through 47, B-17s to U.S. Air Force, 47 B-52s to U.S. Space Force 2019, 77 spacecraft." Thank you for the history lesson.
Yeah,
He's got more to go with that. He goes, "Stargate franchise had a long-running partnership with the U.S. Air Force in the Cheyenne Mountain Complex Stargate Command Cam shots unwoke show." Well, they didn't have woke yet then, but yeah. Paulus Plain says, "Part 3, the new U.S. Space Force operator of Cheyenne Mountain Complex Stargate Command, the USSF, is a new service branch. They need good patriotic PR. Unwoke show." So they should make a show about it, is what he's saying. 200 Watt Studio says, "What's your name, officer?" Murphy. My pronouns are they, them, probably, more or less.
No, it says he, him.
I know, but it would be more like they, them now is what I was getting at, because he doesn't have anything below the waist. He's only a brain and a head and an arm.
Lungs.
I think even lungs. Yeah, a few things. Depends on which version you go by, but yeah.
Well, he needs lungs in order to properly speak with his voice. Otherwise, it'd just be completely robotic voice.
Well, it is kind of robotic, but yeah. Actually, technically, depending, the original version, he's just supposed to be the face stretched over an endoskeleton, basically, with his brain inside. But yeah.
Yeah.
Andre,
but he also has some organs because he has to eat baby food, right? For certain of the organics that are inside.
I think you might be right. Yeah,
we never got a detailed schematic officially, I believe.
No, but the newer movie did a little better job of explaining what was left of him and stuff. Yeah. Andre extended the contract a year, says Lost Warrior seeks fandom, everything is on hold now because he lied to them and Michelle walked. She's uber pissed off. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is the case, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll find out.
Yeah,
But
I'm waiting
speaking
for
of
more dust to
contracts,
settle there.
Bob Iger was talking about Perlmutter. And he did a Time magazine interview. Six and a few others had brought this to our attention, like Walt Mann. And yeah, so in this, there was some interesting stuff, wasn't there, Andre?
There was indeed. So let's bring this up.
Yes, let me grab it here. Here is the Time. Boy, it's been a while since we've done it. I read a story from Time magazine. Bob Iger and Ron DeSantis, creativity and the future of Disney. Now in this, he talks about firing Ike Perlmutter and his decisions around that. Now I know Six went through this more thoroughly than I did. I don't know if you got a chance to really go through it, Andre.
Well, you can go through it for the audience so that we get to
It's long.
get the gist of us, all of us, the important bits, and yeah, then we can.
Yeah,
go
I don't know if
through
Six
it
wants to
together.
hop in here and help me point out the more.
But the
important bits,
gist
but
of it, the gist of this is that Bob Iger, he basically said he doesn't want to go into any detail where Perlmutter is concerned. Other than, and this is quote, I'd rather not get into details about this one. There was redundancy specific to the way Marvel was being managed. Iger said in the cover interview with Time for its for that edition right there, and basically what he said is that regardless of Nelson Peltz, Perlmutter would have been fired. Now, Perlmutter himself, he claimed that he was fired because he demanded fiscal discipline from Marvel and for supporting Nelson Peltz. So that's what was always Perlmutter's argument for why he was fired. But Iger basically said that Perlmutter would have been fired regardless of his support of Peltz. And he didn't go into any details why, other than that it was a necessary step, which leads many to speculate that this was really more of an ideological thing. Perlmutter wasn't aligned with the company and with Iger's values, therefore he had to go. He didn't do anything wrong. He was demanding fiscal responsibility, but he had the wrong politics and he asked the wrong questions. That is kind of like what one can glean from this piece. So was it a justified firing? According to Iger, absolutely, and a necessary one. According to anyone else reading this Time article piece, I don't see any good justification for doing it.
No, I think
yeah, it's like Script. I'm sure you're familiar with this story.
I haven't read it, so I'm not.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with like Perlmutter, what he did. I'm familiar with what Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau were doing. I'm familiar with Iger's approach. But yeah, this particular one I have not had a chance to read yet. So no, sorry.
Yeah,
Me neither.
Martin McFly, he says in the comments, classic counter Intel PR spin. And yeah, so like this is just like a piece trying to spin Iger in the most positive light possible. But it's a weird read, a little bit gaslighting, because there's nothing positive to spin here. He goes on about like how the creatives are the most important people they have, but now suddenly they need to be held accountable when they never needed to be held accountable before. And he completely ignores the fact that the creatives are the reason why Disney are having their current problem, why audiences have walked out of them. It's because of the creatives. So it is a long read, but it's a gaslighting read, and it's meant to basically clear his image with very little new information actually being presented here.
Is
Yeah,
it
he
a
does-
funnier read than the other article on the DOG investigating Warner Brothers about canceling Batgirl? Is it funnier
That
than that?
No.
that probably is more fun. That probably is the more fun read. Yeah, or more,
No, this is the
perhaps
first I'm
more
hearing
frustrating.
about that.
Which one?
Um,
What?
about the whole thing with Batgirl, but in this article, in this
That's
interview,
kind of
they
old
also
news.
It's
I
in
thought
the
you'd have
show
covered it
notes,
by
point
now.
number 5.
no, I'd never seen it. Also, he talks about DeSantis, obviously, in the article as well, and about how they're dealing with that situation. But yeah, no, we
And thankfully, I don't care about that.
well, that's a big deal to them. That's going to be
Oh, for sure.
make or break the studio, really,
Well, it's not going to make or break the studio. It's not
or
going to
the
do that. But
company
it's
as a
uh,
in the
but
Florida
it's
region anyway.
but they will lose a tremendous advantage if the Reedy Creek matter doesn't go their way, which it won't. So they can just start preparing for that right away. It's not going to, as Valiant Renegade pointed out, that's not going to hold up anywhere. So yeah, just get ready for court and get ready to lose. And yeah, that's the gist of it. So it's a lengthy piece, but it's a frustrating piece because there's so little information in it.
Yeah, I'm just going through it right now because I couldn't find it earlier. But yeah, it's just really an interview that's talking around the pertinent points of what's going on with Disney, actually.
Yeah. And the key takeaway is that where Perlmutter is concerned is that it was a necessary step, presumably, although this isn't said on ideological grounds, but it also isn't said exactly why it was done, other than it was necessary. So the reader is left to assume why it was necessary to remove him, other than it had nothing to do with Nelson Peltz and his backing of him. But again, that also just supports that Perlmutter was against Iger. He was against Iger's running of the company. And the irony is, and this is what is so frustrating with a piece of this, is that Perlmutter was right all along. Disney would not have been in the situation that they currently are if they have listened to his lessons for Marvel and applied it company-wide.
Well, yeah, but that's some interesting politicking on Perlmutter's part because he didn't have to sell Marvel to Disney. He had a very nice contract with Paramount. And the thing was, while he was had the distribution deal with Paramount, he had a lot more control over the studio. So, I mean, listen, I can understand the profitability considering the fact that, it's like over $4 billion for this contract with this studio I founded. Sure, that sounds like a great deal. But, that's looking at the money and not looking at, well, what does Disney do when they acquire other properties? And Power Rangers were the biggest one at the time. I remember it vividly. And I remember when they ran that into the ground to the point where Saim Haban was able to buy it back, and now he's licensed it out with Hasbro. That I'm surprised that wasn't taken into account when the offer was made to Ike and Co. for Marvel Studios.
Yeah, I guess it just looked like too good of a deal for them, because what I recall at the time is that they said that they will be allowed to continue to do what they do, but now with a full financial backing of Disney, meaning that they could do more. But also here, this is maybe where Iger should have put the foot down, because he was always concerned with the bottom line and with not basically being frugal. He was this in everything. And in this sense, yeah, it was surprising that he agreed to this deal, because he wanted to be frugal, but now he wanted to do so in a corporate structure where that isn't possible. And the whole point of going into being acquired by Disney in the first place is that would give them more resources, which means they didn't have to be so frugal. And that's the beginning of their problem and their downfall. Honestly, in retrospect, Marvel may have been better off if they had stayed with Paramount instead of with Disney. They wouldn't have been any less successful. The big success that was the Avengers, that happened under Paramount.
Yep.
The first movie that was actually made completely under Disney auspices was Thor: The Dark World.
Which did not do as well.
No, of course, that may be a complete coincidence. That may not have had anything to do with Disney, but still, that's how it was. The first Disney movie was the one widely considered the worst Marvel movie up till then at the time.
Yeah, and the other part too is like since Iron Man 2 was pushed ahead of schedule because it was supposed to actually come out after Thor, and they pushed it ahead of schedule because they needed to, because Disney had already been sniffing around them and they knew that they were going to most likely do a sale, and they wanted to make sure that the film, the Iron Man being the most popular just 2 years prior, that they wanted to recapture that magic and prove to Disney that they are worth their asking price essentially. And at the same time, when they that's why they kind of changed and butted heads with Jon Favreau, because he wanted to do the Demon in the Bottle, and they're saying like, listen, we're selling this to a family company, they're not going to like that. We know from the people at Disney that have been talking to us that they don't want to see an Iron Man movie about alcoholism, so we're asking you to take that out. And Iron Man 2 did quite well, but was critically not as well received as the first one. But luckily, they didn't need to worry too much about that because the first Thor was pretty well received, and Captain America, which just came out not too long after, a lot of people really loved. So they were, they worked out for Marvel at that point, but not necessarily the best decisions, but still a benefit to them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It worked out, but in retrospect, they probably would have been better. And this also ties back to more Disney. Probably would have been better off in the long run listening to Favreau all along. He's truly an underrated person in creating the whole
in
the
creating
whole
this stuff.
MCU.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's a true creative, and he also understands some of the game, but he's not in the greatest position of power where he can get away with some stuff. But I remember the time. It was 2000. It was right after Iron Man came out, so we're talking 2009 when there was rumors that Disney wanted to buy Marvel, and there was a lot of us saying Disney is not a compatible brand for what Marvel does, and it would be a bad idea. And time proved us right. Sadly,
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd be wrong. It looked like we were going to be wrong for a while there, and yeah.
But still, from Iger's personal financial perspective, I do believe it may have been the best decision he could have made. I don't know that he would have stand to gain so much financially, personally, under Paramount as he did simply by buying it to Disney.
Yeah, because Paramount's financial situation was nowhere they could sustain it.
Yeah, no.
It was they would be struggling for a while. However, after Avengers, they got their second wind because they took a nice chunk of that. And I'm sure they're show that if they were able to hold on, it would have been a slow growth. And that's kind of the secret sauce when it comes to studio system is that yes, they leverage a lot in order to make these movies, but if they're really good and they spawn a franchise, it's a slow growth, but it's a very strong and stable growth. And that's kind of what you want to get. And there's a lot of people in the industry that they're too stressed out by the debts and the interest on that they just don't see the long game and how that can benefit them. And as a result, you get knee-jerk sales of properties between studios and whatnot.
Yeah. And here we are now, a decade later, and it worked out great for a while, but not for too long.
Yeah, and we can only cross our fingers that Paramount doesn't do something stupid and sell Taylor Sheridan stuff to another studio.
Yeah. And I do hope that Bob Iger has a better plan for getting Disney back on track than what he is letting on in public. Because, the reason that we're struggling with discussing this particular article is because there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's all boring. They've ruined all our stuff. What else are we going to talk about?
Well, we have a few super chats, so let's go through those and hear what you guys are saying in the comments.
Actually, I think we're caught up on the super chats.
Oh, well, there we go. Well, then we have this other story here that Paul brought up before Paul has to give in to the backache.
Yeah.
We have the story that we brought up earlier. I'm going to put it in the private chat here, Tom, because this one is a real doozy. And I so wish that I recorded the moment when Paul first saw this story.
Oh my God.
This one is a real doozy and the perfect one for a relatively slow Friday. Because we do not like
They
to
really have a
political
hard-on
here.
for Zaslav, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
But
Jesus.
when politics and entertainment intersects, for those
Of course, it's
cannot
four
see
Democratic
clearly-
lawmakers. That's all I needed to see.
Yeah. For those that are only listening and can see the headline that we have in from Deadline Hollywood, lawmakers, that is Democratic lawmakers, wants Department of Justice to investigate Warner Brothers Discovery merger, claiming it harmed workers and reduced content choice. And what do they cite in particular? The ultra woke Batgirl. That's what this is.
These fuckers got
really
paid. What
about.
the hell are they trying to talk about here? This is so stupid.
Oh,
But they
my
didn't get
God.
the residuals,
The
Tom.
fuck? There are no residuals.
I know. It
Perhaps-
shows how little they actually.
That's the reason it got
business.
axed.
Yeah.
Because they didn't
Well,
have to
let's
pay
just,
anybody.
Yeah, well, allow me to read from the article, because this is just a delight. 4 Democratic lawmakers want the Justice Department to investigate Warner Brothers Discovery, claiming that the merged company has harmed workers and reduced consumer choice. That is Senator Elizabeth Warren. Is she the one that was referred to as Pocahontas, that she
Correct.
thought she was Native American or something?
Yes.
Fantastic.
She was a pretendian.
Yeah, and then it's Representative Joaquin Castro, David Cicilline, and Pramila Jayapal wrote in a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland and Department of Justice Antitrust Chief Jonathan Cantor that the merger appears to have enabled, there's a dangerous word, the company to adopt potential anti-competitive practices that reduce consumer choice and harm workers in affected labor markets. Warner Media and Discovery were combined last year in a transaction that was not challenged by the Department of Justice after a review. So basically, they're saying that the Department of Justice screwed up before. The company has the incentive and ability to eliminate broad swaths of its workforce, leaving workers with fewer choices for employment and advancement. Yeah,
That's the definition of a
horrible is
merger.
this?
Oh,
Single
for fuck's
company in
sake.
the world right now is firing people, but when this one does it, it's bad, says the Democrats. When Disney fires 7,000 and cuts 5 billion from the content creation pot, that's perfectly fine, because that's one of them. But when Zaslav does it, that calls for an investigation by the Department of Justice. So says Elizabeth Warren, so it must be true.
My solution is that the Democratic Party get into the production business, start a studio, and buy this property. That's my solution.
That'd be brilliant. Yes, taxpayer-funded media. That's what the United States needs more of.
And that's always a popular subject in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
This story just leaves me breathless.
Yeah.
It's so wrong on so many levels.
Yeah. Because, of course, Deadline Hollywood, and these are no fans of David Zaslav, but they have some editorializing and some commentary on the matter. They say, it would be unusual for the Justice Department to essentially reopen a review of a merger so shortly after it has been completed. But the lawmakers appear to have been bolstered by countless comments on the Department of Justice concern over the impact of consolidation on content creators and workers, not just consumers. But again, not a word on Disney. And then they write some more boring stuff, arguing that the merger has led to the hollowing out of an iconic American studio. The lawmakers also cited that the cancellation of projects and the removal of content from the HBO Max platform. They wrote that audiences will never see such projects like Batgirl. They mentioned this specifically. A $90 million film that was cancelled while deep in post-production, despite consumer outcry, reportedly to allow Warner Brothers to claim a tax break. Yeah, so Elizabeth Warren thinks this is really, really horrible what happened to Batgirl.
I think Elizabeth Warren has got to admit to which superhero movies she actually has watched. She has to come clean. Tell us who you're a fan of. What's your favorite superhero movie?
Well, do it better. Ask her, what's your favorite Supergirl? Or your favorite Batgirl? What's your favorite Batgirl actress? Ask her that one.
That's right. And did you actually see the clip of her running? That was horrible. That was right up there. With,
I cannot say that I have seen any such clip. No.
No, it's up there with Dylan Mulvaney doing the jumping jacks in the Nike bra. It's right up there with that level of athleticism.
Fantastic.
I guess yes, you're right. These lawmakers, I don't like Zaslav. That's really the bottom line. They don't watch any of these shows. We could challenge Castro to find out which house swapping show that he likes the best. So house flipping show that he likes on Discovery. What's your favorite Discovery show there?
Yeah, no, like this is just I mean, we've been saving this up for like a slow Friday, and here we are.
Oh my God.
This is ridiculous. This is honestly one of the most stupid cases I've ever seen covered here, and it's also one of the most partisan. Because what really strikes me is every single thing that they complain about Warner for would be more appropriately directed at Disney. Like, it's not that Batgirl is the main point here. No, it's the firing staff. It's the reducing consumer choice, all of which Disney is doing, but at a far greater magnitude than
so what does reduced consumer choice mean in this situation? One fewer female superhero to choose from?
Probably, yeah.
Well, there's some certain irony to it because Warner's axing of Batgirl was an attempt to save money for their company, and now we have these 4 Democrats that are wasting taxpayer dollars because of it.
But that's not their money.
It's not their money, but it's the money that they're of their representatives. Essentially, it's
right. And Warner's is not going to stop being in the business of making stuff because they have to make stuff to make money. That's the nature of a studio.
Yes, and their justification for getting rid of Batgirl was this could prevent us from making more money.
That's right. It's going to ruin our brand if this movie is looking to be as bad as it's turning out to be. Therefore, they make less money.
Batgirl was ostensibly probably a nearly 2-hour film version of what the last episode fight scene of Miss Marvel was. Because it's the same people, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Who are involved.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Man. I mean, the lawmakers need to stay out of anything to do with creative content. I'm sure Elizabeth Warren has never dressed up as Batgirl and gone to Comic-Con.
Well, and if she has, then please let there not be footage of it. But it gets better
Enter the
because you
gladiators
know what?
playing in the background.
Because this being Deadline
That's
Hollywood,
me.
there are comments. And one
let's
comment
read
here
them.
reads, and in
Read-
order to investigate fully, the committee will require a copy of Batgirl and some popcorn. So, yeah, there we have it. And here we have an anonymous who says, I've been a Democrat all my life, and this is exactly why people hate progressives. They made a business decision. Maybe it was a bad decision, but it's theirs to make. You can't claim discrimination because it was made. Not a lot of support here in the comments. However, there's like some back and forth here because again, this hits at like the partisan nature of this entire matter, which to me is like the most disturbing thing here. Again, this is where politics and entertainment collides, and that is problematic, to appropriate an SJW term.
I like this one here. We really need laws against unregulating tax write-offs. We have laws. They were being followed.
Damn, following those laws.
Yeah, but again, that's what I mean. You have like some comments in both directions. See, there's like a stupid numbnuts that's obviously with Senator Warren here.
Well,
that was pretty quick.
And this is clearly probably somebody who got fired. The way they're
Yeah.
going on about this, Anyway, anyway, yeah. This is hilarious. I wish I'd known about this sooner. I didn't know you knew about it, Andre. This is news to me, but yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I should have seen it when I showed it to Chato. That was hilarious.
Yeah, he had quite a priceless reaction.
Yeah. He thought I was joking.
Yeah, I was.
It is a joke.
It's unfathomable. Like to
Sadly,
legislate
it was not published on April 1st.
God forbid your company save money and try to make money. Damn you!
It's just so that would be a fantastic episode if you're doing a parody sitcom of the government. Like that would be an absolutely perfect episode where legislators.
I don't think that Yes Minister could ever come up with something so contrived as that as reality.
No,
That's what I'm
the only
saying.
other thing they could come up with,
make it a really good episode.
They need to come up with a committee.
They canceled Batgirl? What's Batgirl? I don't watch the series. I don't even know. None of them.
We need to come up with a committee to do an investigation to waste more taxpayers' money. Damn it!
Yeah.
Tragedy is that would be like the episode where everyone said, "Now you jumped the shark," because I was too stupid to ever happen.
Because that's really what this is saying. It's not even anything more than we need to get a committee together to investigate this.
You know what? There was a time. there was a moment in time where Warren was pretty good when she was
Not a senator.
I guess, was she not a senator?
Before she was a senator and she was actually an investigator into fraud, she had a pretty decent record.
Right. And I saw some of her committee questioning lawmakers, and I thought, wow, this woman really has come well armed to discuss the matter at hand. But now she's just become a parody of herself.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is what I am. I've always been a parody of myself,
Yes,
and I have to go.
Well, do you want to stick around for the last few super chats, or you got to go now? Because we're gonna wrap this up.
No. I'll stick around for the super chats.
Yeah, we got a meeting coming up here, so we're gonna wrap this up here. Paulus Plain says, and this is part 4 to his earlier super chats. Thank you again, Paulus.
Whoa,
I meant that the U.S.
Knox.
Yeah, that's Norwegian krona.
Knox rule.
He meant that the U.S. Space Force needs a good, patriotic, woke-free PR and Cheyenne Complex's Area 52 Stargate Command. Thank you, Love Midnight's Edge. All right, well, thank you, Paulus, for clearing that up and the donation.
I think they need more junior military people stealing intelligence and then handing it out to everybody.
I need more junior mints.
Well, to be fair,
JWT.
I think most people were aware of that particular intelligence that didn't need or that shouldn't be. But yeah, anyway, moving on.
JWT6577 says, remember, Tom, you need to have an IQ that wouldn't melt an iceberg to be in Congress, right? We're looking for the chick with big boobs.
That's very clever.
We're ready to do you now.
That I think you were intimating a low IQ there. Was that what it was?
An IQ so small you'd be rejected from military service.
There you go.
STR Red Wolf says, didn't the DOJ investigate the Warner Discovery merger already? Yes. They had to do it just to approve it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they said in the article. Because this whole thing is stupid. It's dumb. Tipping Barnes says, what was the first movie to give you childhood trauma? Believe it or not, Gremlins.
The Blob.
The late 80s, early 90s Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
In
Would
my
that be
case,
TCM 2 or 3?
Can't remember. It's the one that came out at the turn of the decade.
That would probably be...
Because I saw it around the time of the turn of the decade by accident because a relative had rented it on VHS and put it
Probably
on.
3. That'd be the one that Robert Meyer Burnett worked on.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And as for me, it was actually Robocop. The death scene of Murphy. I saw that way too early.
6 says Bambi. I can see that.
Yeah.
That's an actual answer for a lot of people, believe it or not.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good one. Bambi got offed. Spoiler alert.
That movie was traumatic for a lot of kids when it first came out.
But that's what made it good.
Yeah. Scare the shit out of them kids. Damn right. Daryl Brewer says, so does this mean that they will go after Robert Rodriguez and John Malkovich for the movie they made as a time capsule to never be seen by any current living person? That's a tax write-off, right? I'm not sure on that.
I love John Malkovich.
That out. That's a good question, though. That's a very good question. Mexican Iron Man is here. How you doing, Mikey? He says, as a former lifelong Democrat that voted for Bill, Obama, and Hillary, this is the crap that drove me out of California and to becoming conservative South Carolina rabbit chicken farmer. Ugh. I hear you, brother.
Yeah.
Chato TV show Law and Order style murder investigation of killing Batwoman, says Daniel. Mayor seriously charges the police with prosecuting Warner Brothers.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Up against the wall, Zaslav.
This is goofier than anything they would have come
That's
up with
right.
in the 60s Batman series, man.
The tragedy, the words you said right there, up against the walls, Zaslav. I mean, how many in Hollywood have had wet dreams about hearing just that, or him hearing that?
Yeah, people in Hollywood have a love-hate relationship with success. Everybody wants you to fail, but then they want to be with you when you succeed.
Yeah. STR Red Wolf says, Chato, you mean an episode of Veep?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah,
Basically, yeah. Mega J says, this looks like a one big cope from these Democratic lawmakers. I don't think the DOJ is going to investigate this.
No,
they're not.
No, of course
it's
not.
A waste of time.
This is just one big virtue signal and trying to stay relevant. I mean, this is like Warren that hasn't been in the news for a while and could use the press, I guess. I mean, there's like some kind of like local election or something coming up anytime soon.
Maybe, but also, you know what they will do is they'll get a bunch of those bots from Twitter to go after and go, yeah, get it back, Batgirl, hashtag Batgirl, Batgirl law, Batgirl. Yeah, they'll get people like that behind them, and that's exactly what. Yeah, it's just a way of stirring up some attention.
Someone sent a picture of Elizabeth Warren as Batgirl. If it's on Twitter, if you guys can get it, it's pretty fucking good.
Let me see if I got it. Here it is. Yeah.
I love memes. Like it's Insta memes out there now.
Oh yeah, we got the Legion of Memers are great with this.
Yeah,
stuff.
People can whip these out so
well,
quickly.
then I actually have a request for those that can do it. I've never seen any footage.
We got the
of
Legion. This is Release the McCracken, but yeah.
Yeah, but then what you do is you deep fake her running in a Batgirl costume. Then you have your winner right there.
The deep faking going on.
There you go.
I can't remember. Yeah, that's very.
And then
funny.
Red Chief 000 says
Kraken.
Republican Katie Porter knows Batgirl. Look it up. Oh really?
Oh, the rep from California. Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah. Rod Thunderheart says, "Hail Andre, Tom, Script, and Paul. I'm going to prison. Deliver at the hilarious deliveries. Freight delivery takes you. Love your videos, Paul. Good one, Script. I bet you have to have your truck checked when you leave too to make sure no prisoners are on it.
And I'm glad it's just a one-day trip and you'll be coming back again.
Yeah,
We
right.
miss you. Yeah.
No kidding. Robert says, Script, what's the indie budget at now?
Like the Indiana Jones budget?
I think that's what he means, yeah.
Oh.
Can only speculate, but I mean, latest reports are around 300 million pounds, British sterling. So what is that converted to US dollars? Something around there.
Over 300 million. And I know we had heard already like somewhere in the 350 range. So when converted over with all the business. But I know that we'll never probably know the actual budget.
No,
probably not. And until we get confirmation if they're still doing reshoots or post-production stuff, we can't really speculate on any additional costs yet.
Yeah, I have a feeling. But basically, you just got to look at it. This movie's got to make well over $1 billion to be profitable, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been told.
Yep. And with that, as Andre says.
And with that, yes, then I believe that we may have caught up, haven't we?
You're starting to stammer like I do. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I haven't slept.
Script Doctor. It's all right. Script Doctor, anything you want to plug before we head out?
No, just follow me on my Twitter, and hopefully before the weekend is out, I'll have a review, my comprehensive review of the recent episode of Star Trek Picard, and and then working on something with Mr. Paul Chato that will be released a little bit later. But outside of that, yeah, just follow me on my Twitter.
And I know you and I are going to try to do A-rated B movies one of these days here. We'll try to keep you guys posted on that real soon. And don't forget, Tuesday we've got a member stream as well. Paul, any videos coming out or anything you want to plug?
Well, I just released my Kraken. My butt Kraken today. How Disney princesses killed Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar. So something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I finally got that up and running. And then I'm working on TV Guide fall preview 1984.
Yay!
Which features the Cosby Show and Charles in Charge.
Oh.
And this nugget, and what's really funny is just how tiny the descriptions have become. They're now just really small. But my favorite one is V is on. V was one of the shows that debuted.
So I have a feeling it may shape up to be like I said.
Partners in Crime. With,
Punky Brewster's there too.
Yeah. So there's a Partners in Crime with God damn it. Linda Carter and Lonnie Anderson. Now, that's what you call a 100% made for network TV.
Yeah,
show.
What a Pair is a perfect description of that, right?
Yeah, what a quad.
What a pair of pairs.
Pair of pairs.
So this is this is the great time of. I mean, still network TV was fun enough, and they have Street Hawk, which was the motorcycle version of Knight Rider. I saw that. That was terrible. So anyways.
I can't wait for that.
So doing that, and then, support the channel, everyone. I am a little bit over just 100 subscribers left to hit the magic 100,000. So it's been ticking up again. I was doing my sketches and funny stuff, and that was driving my numbers back down. I can take the hint, okay? Thank you. Do my Paul Lynn. Thank you very much for that support. Anyways, thank you very much, everyone. At Midnight's Edge. I guess it's not morning, but that's what you call it. So I'm gone. I look forward to doing the thing with Script Doctor. I got one more show to do my homework with, and then I'll see you, I guess, on Monday.
Yeah, and maybe next week we'll do your 100K celebration.
Yeah, that would be good. And then I'm gone. I am never coming back to this shithole again. once I hit. No,
No,
I would never do that to you.
Yeah,
You guys have been wonderful.
You'll need us to hit 200K as well.
Release the Batgirl cut. Oh, cut. Oh, that's not
Yeah.
what I thought you wrote. Anyways, with that,
Gola
I'm
82,
leaving.
thank you.
Bye.
Yes, and we are too. So thank you, Gola, and thank you everybody for listening today. Take care of yourselves and each other, and it is time for
Some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala.